The twin suns of Orion Prime burned high above the crowded market, making the air hot and dry. Shouts of merchants and the buzz of alien languages filled the space. Each stall had something strange, glowing fruits, robotic pets, crystal stones floating in the air. In the middle of it all stood a human man, dusty and tired, selling scraps of old tech. His name was Jack Harlow. Jack had been on this planet for 3 weeks. Trying to make a living, he used to be a ship captain, a respected trader across the stars. But things changed. His ship was stolen, his crew gone. And now he sold broken parts just to eat. Nobody looked twice at him. Just another poor human in a galaxy full of better, stronger species. Today was no different. Jack wiped sweat from his forehead as he shouted his offers. Old Earth's tech, working parts, cheap, he said. Most people ignored him. Some laughed. Others called humans outdated, weak. He tried to smile anyway, hoping for one good sale. Then he saw her. A small alien girl stood across the market, half hidden behind a stack of crates. She had thin arms, soft green skin, and wide black eyes that stared only at him. Her clothes were torn, her feet bare. She didn't move, just watched him. Jack looked away. Feeling strange, he tried to focus on his stall. But every time he glanced up, she was still there, staring. Then, just as the market began to slow down for the evening, the girl walked toward him. She moved silently, like a shadow, her eyes never blinking. She stood right in front of his table and whispered in a soft, shaky voice, "They will betray you tonight," she said. Leave everything. Before Jack could ask what she meant, she turned and ran into the crowd, disappearing between tall legs and heavy cloaks. He stood frozen, her words echoing in his head. Betray you tonight. What was she talking about? Who was she? Why him? Jack laughed nervously, shaking his head. Weird kid, he muttered to himself. Still, the way she said it felt real. Her voice was scared, not joking. Like she truly believed he was in danger that night. Jack returned to his small room above an old repair shop. He counted the few credits he earned, locked his door, and sat by the window. He tried to forget her, but the silence made her words louder in his mind. Outside, the streetlights flickered. His room was dark, only the moonlight coming through the window. He was about to sleep when he heard something. A soft beep, then the quiet sound of metal shifting. Jack stood slowly, heart pounding. He moved toward the door and listened. Another soft sound, closer now. A shadow moved just outside. He grabbed his old blaster from under the bed and pointed it at the door. It opened slowly, and there stood Rig. His only friend on this planet. Rig was a tall, strong alien who helped him get this room. He was supposed to be loyal. Jack, Rig said, holding up his hands. Put the blaster down. What are you doing here? Jack asked, not lowering his weapon. Rig hesitated, then sighed. I was told to bring you in, alive. Jack's stomach dropped. The girl was right. Who sent you? Jack asked, backing away. A bounty crew, Rig said. They think you know something. Something important. I didn't want to do it. But they offered me enough to leave this planet for good. Jack's hands shook. He had nothing, no secrets, no power. Why would someone hunt him? I trusted you, Jack said quietly. I'm sorry, Rig replied. Really? I am. Jack didn't wait for more. He fired at the lights, causing the room to go dark. Then he grabbed his bag and ran through the back window. Landing hard on the alley floor, he didn't look back. As he ran through the narrow streets, the alien girl's words echoed again in his mind. They will betray you tonight. She had saved his life. But who was she? Why did she warn him? How did she know? Jack didn't have the answers. Not yet. But he knew one thing. He had to find her again. Jack didn't sleep that night. He ran through dark alleys and empty streets until his legs hurt, his heart beat fast in his chest. Not from running, but from fear. His friend had betrayed him. Just like the alien girl warned, it was not a dream. Not a trick someone really wanted him taken alive. And now he had no one to trust by sunrise. Jack reached the old hangar on the edge of the city. His ship, the Dust Raven, was still there, dusty and broken. Just like his life, he had hidden it months ago. Hoping to fix it later, now it was his only way off this cursed planet. The engines were weak, shields barely holding. But Jack didn't care. He just needed to get away. As he started the launch sequence, smoke rose from one side of the ship. A red warning light blinked. Coolant leak detected. Jack slammed his fist on the panel. "Not now," he growled. He patched it as best as he could, pushed the thrusters, and the Dust Raven slowly lifted into the sky, sparks flying behind it. He didn't know where to go or who to run from. All he knew was that someone wanted him gone. And that strange alien girl had saved his life. He flew low over the desert, keeping below radar. His ship beeped again, not from damage, but from a message. It was short, written in old Earth code. The screen showed just one line. "We warned you, Jack." But now it's too late. His skin went cold. He turned off the screen, breathing hard. What had he done? Why were they after him? He landed the Dust Raven behind a cliff, far from the city. Then he left the ship and walked into the crowded market again. Looking for her, the girl who warned him. The market looked the same as yesterday, loud, full of colors. But Jack moved like a shadow, careful and quiet. He asked a few sellers if they had seen a small green girl with black eyes. Most shook their heads. One old woman narrowed her eyes and said, "You're too late, human." "She's gone," Jack frowned. "Gone where?" "She's hunted," the woman whispered. "You talk to her." "You're next," Jack was about to ask more, when a hand grabbed his arm and pulled him into a dark alley. He turned, ready to fight, but it was Hertha, alien girl. "You came back," she said, her voice flat but tired. "I had to," Jack replied. "You were right. They tried to take me." The girl looked around, then pointed to a sewer grate. "Come." "We don't talk here." They climbed down into the tunnels. The air thick and damp, water dripped from the ceiling, and strange glowing bugs crawled along the walls. The girl led him through winding paths until they reached a small chamber filled with old papers, wires, and maps drawn by hand. Jack looked around, amazed. "You live here?" "For now," she said. "I move when they find me." "Who are they?" Jack asked. "Why did they come for me?" The girl sat on the floor, her eyes staring at nothing. "You were part of something long ago," she said. "You forgot it." "But they didn't." Jack shook his head. "No, I was just a traitor, a captain. Nothing more." She reached into her pouch and pulled out a thin metal chip. Glowing faintly, she handed it to Jack. "This has your name on it." He took it. Confused, he slid it into his data reader. A file opened, showing a picture of him years younger. Wearing a black uniform, a list of missions, places, secret routes, codes he didn't remember. "What is this?" he whispered. "Proof," she said. "They erased your memory, but you were part of them." Project Paragon. Jack stared at the screen, unable to breathe. Project Paragon was a myth. Humans said it was a group that tried to build peace between alien races after the last war. Some called them heroes, others called them traitors. But Jack had never believed it was real, until now. "They think I still know something," Jack muttered. The girl nodded. "They want all traces of Paragon gone. That's why I'm next. I was built by them." "Built?" Jack asked. "You're not fully organic." The girl didn't answer. She stood up and whispered, If you stay here, they'll catch you. They burn the past to protect the future. Jack clenched his fists. Staring at the map on the wall, one location glowed red. Circled many times. "What's this?" he asked. She looked at him, her voice soft. "It's where it all began." And where we have to go, Jack felt fear, but also something else purpose. He didn't know who he was anymore, but he knew what he had to do. "Then let's burn it all," he said. Jack stared at the glowing red circle on the wall. The map looked old, drawn by hand. But the location marked was strange, a dead zone. A place no ships ever flew to. It was deep in the outlands, past broken stars and forgotten stations. He had never seen it on a trade route before. The girl stood next to him, quiet. Her eyes were fixed on the map, like it held all her memories. Her voice was soft, but firm. "This is where the Council hid everything. The truth, the files." The last memory core. Jack's fingers brushed the edge of the map. "Why would they leave it out there?" he asked. "Because no one looks there," she said. "It's a graveyard, full of old tech, crashed ships." And silence. Jack took a deep breath. "Then that's where we're going." They climbed out of the tunnels and moved through the shadows. Jack led her back to the Dust Raven, which still sat behind the cliff. Its hull looked worse in the daylight, patched with metal sheets and burnt from the inside. But it still flew, and that's all they needed. Once inside, Jack powered up the ship. The engines groaned but responded. The girl sat quietly in the co-pilot seat, hugging a small pouch close to her chest. Inside was the chip, the map, and a few other things she never let go of. As the ship lifted into the sky, Jack looked at her. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Laura." "All right, Laura," Jack said. "Let's find out why they're so afraid of us." They jumped into hyperspace. The stars stretching into lines outside. Space looked calm. But inside, both of them were tense. Jack kept checking the radar. And Laura sat still, eyes half closed, like she was listening to something far away. After hours of silence, the ship dropped out of hyperspace. And there it was, the dead zone, a massive field of floating metal. Debris, shattered satellites, broken ships, and dark stations long forgotten. It was a graveyard in space, silent and endless. "This place gives me the creeps," Jack muttered. Laura pointed to a blinking signal coming from an old moon base, half buried in dust and rock. "That's it," she said. "That's where they kept the files." As they flew closer, Jack saw strange markings on the base, not alien, but Earth military symbols. Old ones from before the human colonies collapsed. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. This place was real, and it was human. The ship landed rough, kicking up gray dust. Jack and Laura stepped out, weapons ready. The air was thin, cold and dry. They walked into the base, the doors hissing as they forced them open. Inside, the halls were dark and silent. Lights flickered, and dust hung in the air like fog. Every step echoed. Jack kept his hand on his blaster. Laura walked ahead, not afraid. They reached a locked room at the end of the hall. Laura placed her hand on the scanner. Her fingers glowed faintly, and the door opened. Jack stared at her, surprised. "You're connected to this place?" he said. "I was made in places like this," she replied quietly. "I was part of their test to build peacekeepers, half human, half something else." Inside the room was a glowing box. Floating in the air, it pulsed with light, the memory core. It held every file, every image, every voice from the days before the Council erased the truth. Jack walked toward it, but Laura stopped him. "Once we take it, they'll come," she warned. "They always know." "I don't care," Jack said. "I want to know who I was, and why they're so afraid of you." He touched the memory core, and it opened like a flower. Light poured into the room. A screen appeared. showing files from Earth's Lost Days missions, names, maps, and one file marked Captain Jack Harlow, Paragon Unit 7. Jack stared. Heart pounding, he opened the file and saw himself younger, stronger. Wearing black armor with the Paragon symbol on his chest, he saw video logs him and Laura standing together, protecting refugees, fighting to stop a war. "You knew me before," he whispered. Laura nodded slowly. "They wiped your mind when Paragon fell. You were the only one who stood against the betrayal. So they erased you before Jack could speak again." The ship's alarm blared through the comms, a warning. 3 ships incoming council markings detected. Laura's eyes widened. "They found us?" Jack grabbed the memory core and ran with her back to the ship. His mind raced, not just with fear, but with truth. The past was alive again, and it was burning through the lies. He powered the engines, turning the Dust Raven toward the stars. "We're not running," Jack said, voice steady. "We're exposing everything." Laura held on tight as the ship roared into space, the memory core glowing between them. Behind them, the council ships closed in fast. Jack pushed the engines harder than ever before. The Dust Raven shook as it dodged laser blasts from the council ships chasing them. Sparks flew from the control panel. Warning lights flashed red, but Jack kept going, jaw tight, hands gripping the controls like his life depended on it because it did. Laura sat beside him, holding the glowing memory core close to her chest. "We can't outrun them forever," she said quietly. "I know," Jack replied, "but we don't need forever." Just enough time to reach the storm. Laura looked at him, her eyes calm. "You still remember the way?" "Not fully," Jack admitted, "but something inside me does." He turned the ship toward a dark corner of the galaxy, a region marked only by a warning on the map. No entry, storm zone. Few ever went there, and fewer came back. It was a planet swallowed by endless thunder, violent winds, and secrets buried deep. As they entered the atmosphere, the sky turned black. Lightning danced across thick purple clouds. The ship rattled like it was being torn apart. Rain slammed against the windows, and thunder boomed louder than engines. "This place is alive," Jack whispered. Laura nodded. "It protects what it hides." They broke through the storm and saw an ancient temple, built into the side of a mountain. Huge stone pillars rose from the mist, glowing with symbols from old Earth and other alien languages. It was like something out of a forgotten dream. Jack landed the ship on a rocky platform, barely stable. The wind howled around them. They stepped out, clothes soaked instantly. The rain felt heavy, like it carried weight from the past. They ran up the steps of the temple, the memory core lighting the way at the top. They reached a massive stone door. Laura placed her hand on the symbols, and the door opened with a deep rumble. Inside, the air was warm and still. The noise from the storm faded, replaced by silence that felt sacred. The walls were covered in carvings, humans standing side by side with aliens. Hands joined, ships flying through stars, and the symbol of Paragon, large and bright in the center. "This place," Jack said slowly, "it was ours." Laura walked to the center of the room and placed the memory core on a pedestal. It floated up, spinning slowly. Light poured from it, covering the walls. Images appeared in the air: Jack's face, Laura's face, and many others. Soldiers, scientists, leaders. Jack saw himself giving orders, leading missions, helping refugees, trying to stop the war between alien systems and Earth's leaders. Paragon had tried to build peace, but peace had enemies, strong ones. The Council, afraid of unity, had betrayed them. Then came the worst image: Jack on his knees, surrounded by soldiers, a machine erasing his mind. Laura screaming, chained to a wall. "They wanted to end us completely," Laura said, her voice shaking. But this place saved some of our truth. Jack dropped to his knees. The weight of memory crashing down on him. He had been part of something bigger than he ever knew. They took it all away. His past, his purpose, his people. I let them do this to me, he said, fists clenched. You didn't choose it, Laura replied. Kneeling beside him, they forced you, but now you remember. And that changes everything, suddenly. The temple walls trembled, dust fell from the ceiling. A deep voice echoed through hidden speakers, Jack Harlow. Step away from the core. Jack stood, eyes burning. They're here. Laura's face went cold. They found us. A hologram appeared in the air, showing a tall alien in a silver uniform, Council Commander Valen. His eyes were hard, voice calm. You too have broken many lines, he said. The truth you carry is dangerous. You're endangering the galaxy. Jack laughed bitterly. The truth is only dangerous to liars. Valen didn't blink. We can still fix this. Jack, destroy the core. Give up the girl and walk away. We'll erase your mind again. You'll live in peace. Laura stepped forward. Her voice strong. I'm not just a girl, she said. You made me, but I chose my own path. I chose to remember. Valen's face darkened. Then you will both be buried here. The hologram vanished. And outside, the roar of ships filled the sky again. The temple shook harder as Council soldiers landed. Jack looked at Laura, fire in his eyes. We fight, she nodded, her hands glowing faintly. Together, as the temple doors burst open, Jack aimed his weapon. Standing tall beside the girl who had once been a stranger in a market. Now, she was his only ally. And the last piece of a history the galaxy was never meant to remember. And they would burn the lies down to the ground. The temple walls shook as explosions echoed outside. The ancient stone trembled under the force of the Council's arrival. Jack stood with his blaster drawn, heart pounding like a drum. Laura's hands glowed faintly with blue light, energy humming in the air around her. They had minutes, maybe seconds, before soldiers flooded the temple. Jack turned to the memory core still floating above the pedestal. We can't let them take it, he said. We need to get it out, Laura nodded, but her eyes were distant, staring at something only she could feel. There's someone with them, she whispered. Someone you knew. Before Jack could ask, the door blew open. Light and smoke bursting through the chamber. Council soldiers in black armor stormed in. Weapons raised, Jack fired first, dropping two before ducking behind a pillar. Laura lifted her hand and a blast of energy slammed into the floor, sending soldiers flying back. But then, a voice stopped everything. Hold your fire, it commanded, strong and sharp. Everyone froze. Jack peeked around the pillar, and his blood ran cold. A tall man stepped through the smoke. Face aged but familiar. His hair was white now. But the scar across his cheek hadn't changed. Jack's voice broke as he spoke. Captain Rylon. Rylon was Jack's old mentor, the man who taught him how to fly, how to lead, how to fight with honor. Jack had believed he was dead, killed during the fall of Paragon. But now, here he was, standing with the Council. You're alive, Jack said, stepping forward slowly. You were one of us. Rylon looked at him with sad eyes. I was, he said. But times change. Jack, you'll understand. Eventually, Jack's hands tightened into fists. You betrayed us. I made a choice, Rylon said calmly. Paragon failed. We tried to save everyone. But no one wanted saving. Peace was a lie. The Council offered order. And I took it. You let them erase us, Jack growled. You let them wipe my mind and turn Laura into a hunted child. Rylon didn't flinch. You would have done the same if you saw what I saw. No, Jack said. I would have thought Rylan raised his hand, and soldiers aimed their weapons again. "Give us the girl and the core," he said. "You don't have to die here." Laura stepped beside Jack, eyes glowing bright. "You can't silence the truth forever," she said. Rylan's expression hardened. "We'll see." The fight began again. Blasters firing across the chamber. Jack moved like he had in the old days fast. Precise, fearless, Laura created a shield of light around them. Deflecting the enemy fire, they pushed back, step by step. Refusing to fall, suddenly the memory core glowed brighter than ever, and the temple itself reacted. Symbols lit up along the walls. Humming with power, the ground cracked, and a hidden staircase opened beneath the pedestal. "Down there," Laura said, grabbing Jack's arm. "It's the heart of the temple." They ran, sliding down the stairs as stone closed above them. Sealing the path, the core followed, floating beside them like it was alive. At the bottom, they entered a glowing chamber. In the center was a chair, simple metal, covered in cables and lights. Laura looked at Jack, her face pale. "This is a transfer station," she said. "One person can merge with the core and broadcast the truth across the galaxy." Jack stepped forward. "Then I'll do it." "No," Laura said quickly. "If you connect, it'll kill you. Your brain can't handle it." Jack paused, thinking, what if you do it? Laura looked at the chair, fear in her eyes. "I was made for this, but if I go in, I won't come out." Jack stepped closer to her, voice shaking. "Laura, you saved me. I owe you everything. I can't ask you to." She placed her hand on his cheek gently. "You didn't ask," she said. "I choose this. I choose to be more than what they made me." Before he could stop her, she stepped into the chair, the cables wrapped around her. Lights flashing, the core pulsed once, then merged with her body. Her eyes widened, glowing gold, and her voice echoed everywhere. "This is Laura of Paragon," she said. "We were erased, but now we return, across the stars." The truth began to spread. Images, files, memories all sent to every planet, every system. The lies of the Council fell like dust in the wind. The chamber shook violently, cracks spreading in the walls. Jack tried to pull Laura from the chair, but she was gone, her body now just light. "Laura?" he shouted, but there was only silence, and the soft fading hum of truth set free. Jack stood alone in the glowing chamber. The light of the memory core now dim. The chair where Laura sat was empty. The cables hanging loose, and her body no longer there. Just a soft shimmer in the air where she had been, like she had become part of the message itself. He could still hear her last words echoing in his mind. "We were erased, but now we return, all across the galaxy." Ships, stations, and outposts were receiving the transmission. Holograms played in every square, files opened in secret government terminals. Citizens watched in silence as the truth spilled out about Project Paragon, about Jack, about Laura, about the Council's betrayal. Jack fell to his knees, exhausted, his chest hurt. His eyes burned. Laura was gone, and yet she had never been more alive. She had become the voice of a forgotten past, the light inside the truth, and now she was everywhere. The temple above continued to shake. The walls cracked, and stones rained down from the ceiling. The dust ravens crackled in Jack's earpiece. A voice shouted through the static, "Jack, are you alive?" It was Rick's, an old smuggler friend, someone Jack hadn't seen in years. "I got your signal," Rick said. "The whole galaxy did. And now the Council wants your head more than ever. I'm here to pull you out. But we've got less than 5 minutes before this place turns into rubble." Jack stumbled to his feet, grabbed the last glowing shard of the memory core, and ran up the hidden stairs. The temple was falling apart, ancient beams crashing down. Council soldiers had already retreated. Their mission failed, their lies exposed. Jack burst through the outer doors just as a small ship hovered above the landing platform. The ramp opened and Rix reached down, yelling, "Jump!" Jack leaped and caught Rix's hand. Pulled aboard just as the ground gave way below. The temple collapsed behind them. Lost to dust and time, the ship lifted into the clouds. Into the storm, and then up into space. Inside, Jack sat quietly. Holding the shard close, Rix glanced back at him. "I saw her in the broadcast," he said. "That girl Laura." "She was incredible. She gave everything," Jack whispered. They flew in silence for a while as news of the broadcast spread. Civil unrest began across many planets. Some praised the return of Paragon. Others feared it. Council leaders gave short. Angry speeches calling the files fake, but deep inside, everyone knew the truth had already taken root. On a quiet moon station, Jack and Rix docked for fuel and supplies. The place was small, hidden, used by smugglers and outlaws. No one asked questions. Jack sat in the corner of a dim bar, listening to whispers. "Did you see the files?" One alien said, "Humans were building peace all along. They say Paragon might return." Another replied, "Led by a human and a girl made of light." Jack smiled slightly, then stood and walked outside. The stars above looked clearer now. Like even space felt lighter with the truth finally out. He pulled out the shard of the core and activated it. Laura's face appeared, faint and flickering. "If you're seeing this," she said, "then I'm still with you. We knew this day would come, Jack. And you were always meant to lead when it did." Jack closed his eyes, a single tear sliding down his cheek. "You weren't just built for peace, Laura," he whispered. "You were born for it." But just as hope began to rise, something else happened. The shard blinked red. A warning message appeared. "New signal detected, unknown origin. Core energy signature matched." Jack frowned. "What the hell is that?" Rix came running in, holding a datapad. "Jack, you need to see this. There's a ship now. A fleet approaching from deep space. No council tags, no known design. But they're heading straight for us." Jack's heart sank. Someone else heard the message. The truth had not only awakened the people, had awakened something older. Something watching, waiting. The memory core hadn't just broadcast the truth. It had called out across space. "We may have just lit a signal fire," Jack said quietly. "And now?" "Something's answering." He looked one last time at the shard in his hand. At the face of the girl who had warned him of treachery, saved his life, and became the light in the storm. He stood tall, eyes hard with purpose. "Then let them come," he said. "We're not done yet." The stars above the moon station flickered strangely. One by one, the lights in space blinked out. Not from shadows, but from the arrival of ships huge. Silent and unknown, they came without warning. Without messages, without symbols, they hovered like ghosts in the dark. Inside the station, everyone stopped moving. Smugglers, merchants, and ex-soldiers stood frozen. Eyes locked on the screens. Jack stared too, his jaw tight. The shard of the memory core in his hand glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "These ships," Rix said, voice low. "They're not from the council." "No," Jack replied. "They're older. Maybe ancient." The shard suddenly projected a message. Not from Laura, but from deep within the core. A voice, strange and cold, spoke. "Signal received. Memory restoration detected. Paragon status confirmed. Prepare for judgment." Jack's eyes narrowed. Judgment. Laura had warned him once, long before she stepped into the chair, that the truth could wake things better left forgotten. Some believed Paragon had allies among the stars. Others believed they had enemies, even the council feared. Now Jack understood. The memory core was more than history. It was a beacon, and it had called out. The mysterious fleet moved closer. A large vessel, shaped like a blade, broke from the group and flew directly toward the station. Jack didn't wait. He ran to the docks with Rix, climbed aboard the Dust Raven, and powered the engines. "We can't outrun them," Rix shouted. "They're too fast. We're not running," Jack said, voice sharp. "We're answering." He flew the ship out of the docking ring, straight toward the incoming vessel. The blade ship stopped and opened a channel. A figure appeared on the screen, tall, silver-skinned, with 6 glowing eyes and a voice like metal. "Jack Harlow, representative of Broken Paragon," the figure said. "You have revived what was meant to die. Why?" Jack stood firm in the cockpit. "Because the truth matters," he said. "Because peace was stolen. And now the galaxy remembers." The alien tilted its head. "You carry the last spark of Paragon, and the Girl of Light. Where is she?" "She gave herself to the core," Jack replied. "She became the voice of what we were, and what we could be." The ship was silent for a long moment. Then the figure said, "Then we have no war with you." Rix blinked. "Wait, what?" The figure continued, "We are the architects, creators of the memory core. We watched as Paragon rose, and we wept when it fell. We left one core in your hands, to see if you would rise again." Jack's breath caught. "So this was a test." "A chance," the architect said. "And now you have passed. But your enemies still breathe. The council still rules. And the liars still hold power." Jack clenched his fists. "Then help us finish it." The architect leaned closer. "We will not fight your wars, human. But we will give you this," a new file transferred into the shard. Glowing brightly, inside it was a list of names, locations, secret logs, proof of the council's crimes. Everything they ever hid, all recorded in perfect detail. Enough to shake the galaxy from its foundation. "This is your fire," the architect said. "Burn their lies to ash." The screen went dark, and the blade ship turned, slowly drifting back to the unknown fleet. One by one, the ships disappeared into the stars, silent once again, leaving behind only truth. Back on the Dust Raven, Jack held the shard close. His heart was heavy, but full. "Laura," he whispered. "We did it." He activated the galaxy-wide signal. Not hiding, not afraid. And then he pressed SEND. Within hours, the galaxy burned not with flames, but with awakenings. Protests erupted. Leaders stepped down and secret prisons were emptied. The council denied everything, but their hands were caught in too many places. And then something impossible happened. A group of humans, aliens, and hybrids, all marked with the Paragon symbol, stood in front of a camera on a neutral moon. Their leader stepped forward, her skin glowing faintly, her black eyes filled with calm. "This is for Laura," she said. And for those who remember, Jack watched the broadcast in silence. Laura's sacrifice had spread like a seed. Others were rising. The truth had not just broken chains, it had planted new roots. He walked to the window of the ship and looked out at the stars. They didn't seem so cold now, not so far away. "Paragon lives," he whispered. And with that, Jack powered the engines, turned the Dust Raven toward the stars, and vanished into the deep, ready for whatever came next. The girl had warned him of treachery. He had listened, and because he did, the galaxy would never be the same again.